Okay, hey everyone. Well, welcome along to our kind of follow-up webinar just to showcase some of the new features that we've already started adding to Mobile Client Finder. And also I think we can have a really good Q&A session this evening, as it is for me, and I know a few people have got some quite specific questions, and I've had a ton of feature requests as well, and I'll try and cover off what we've got already built into the roadmap there, just because I know some people are desperate for this whistle or that, desperate for that bell and stuff like that. Well, I think most of those are actually going to be coming for people, so we should be a good little session. But yeah, I mean, a few things sort of came out after the launch, and people were kind of jumping around, and obviously we already had a bit of a roadmap as to some new features that we wanted to add. So pretty much last week was just spent intensely adding stuff to this piece of software, as is this week so far already, and we have got another fairly major release planned for Friday again. So lots happening with it. The thing is evolving as people are kind of giving us feedback and giving us ideas about how they're actually using it in the real world. Then we're being very lucky to be able to adapt it and just make it work even better than it already does. So I'm going to run through what we added that wasn't there when we launched the thing, whenever it was, a week or two back. The main sort of thing to kind of touch upon is that we and it's really only obviously relevant to pro users, because the people who went for the basic don't even have the email kind of side of things. But the main thing is some tweaks that we've made within the email settings. But before I get into that, I'll just go into the report preferences. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. Okay, is that the case?
I'm seeing it fine.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so one of the things that actually came up on launch day was the internationalization of the whole thing. So I've gone ahead and added this language tab in here, which does a little bit of localization in there, which is mine set to English UK. But if I set that to English United States, you'll see on the preview straight away we get the old Z or Z, as you guys call it, dropped in there, and it's also going to alter the date format as well. I mean, and just looking down the roadmap, obviously once we take this to a public launch, we are aware that there are people wanting to use this in the French language, in the Spanish language, and so on. So it may well be that we kind of take that down that route and go down there as well. But for the time being, at least you can use it comfortably in most English-speaking places in the world without worrying too much about your Z's or your date formats or anything like that. The second thing that I added into here was this call to action text box, whereby you can start to have some control over the PDF itself. And this is a theme that I kind of really would like to develop as we go along. That it may well be that we could add an advanced mode that would allow for even more personalization of the report itself. I mean, obviously the thing with the dynamic PDF that's bringing in dynamic data as well is that we do need to leave a certain level of constraint in there, because otherwise we'll just end up with loads of scratty reports where the thing don't work or it gets broken and stuff like that. So, but for now, I know we had a few issues with people with long email addresses and stuff like that. Effectively, if I bring in an example report here, bear with me. I probably should have had one of these open. Let me get one of them just to show you exactly the piece of the report I'm talking about that you're going to be able to amend. Okay, that one I'll do. So if I'll just bring this in, you should be able to see that. So you're used to the rest of the report. The call to action paragraph, as I've called it, is this bottom bit of text here that I've just highlighted. So in line with the brand in there. So you can alter that, and I mean, you can leave it blank. If you do that, it'll just use the default text as we've had it previously. But if you don't, you're welcome to start adding some extra stuff into there. And for those guys that are familiar with HTML, you can actually you can use some of the more low-level, old-fashioned HTML tags. I mean, you can't use any CSS type styling or anything like that. It just won't work. The PDF will not render it. In fact, it's likely to actually render out the style rules if you start writing them in. because it probably won't strip them out. But you can use font tags, of which, for those of you that are familiar, you can add a size and color attributes to that. You can use paragraph tags. You can use strong and for bolding. You can use EM for emphasis, for italics. You know, so there's a little bit more control in there for those who want to get on with it. I know there's plenty of people just like, hey, you know, it's fine as it is, and I think they just want to do that. So you can do as well. I mean, finally, we actually added this pretty quickly after the launch, but the test PDF button, people just wanted to see what the actual PDF would look like. So if you go ahead and click that, it pops up and it prompts you to save one, and off it goes. And you'll notice that because I didn't have anything in there, it actually pre-populated that with the sample stuff. And as I say, you can use some just basic, there's some font sizing in there and some colouring and stuff like that. But you don't need to. It will deal with that if you can do. So that was it really for the report side of things for the time being. But where we really sort of made some major changes was in the emailing side of things, to give a little bit more control over the templates and stuff like that. Now, in the email settings themselves, and I'm going to, I know a few people have got some questions on this. I've been doing quite a lot of work today to do with Google Apps integration. I'll discuss my thoughts and findings on that when we finish talking about these features. But there's a few things that we kind of altered as part of this. The first thing being to do with the actual reports that get kicked out, and this whole email enabled setting. When we launched the product, effectively, if you had email emailing disabled, then it wouldn't even attempt to try and scrape it or do anything like that. It'd just ignore that whole emailing element and just create the reports and create the PDFs and all the rest of it. A lot of people says, well, you know, actually I would like the email address, but I'm going to use that in an autoresponder system that I've got or whatever, but I don't necessarily want to be sending out the emails from the software itself. So we just altered the way that whole process works, and effectively it's going to try and scrape the email address whether you're emailing them or not. So you've just got that within the CSV data that it spits out at the end. So that was a fairly major change to how it actually works in the nitty-gritty. The other thing we did, of course, was add this test emailing functionality in there as well, so you can punch an email in there and actually send yourself a test email just to see what it's doing. And I mean, just to make sure that was working right, I've just punched one in there myself, and you can see that's come through as you would expect it to with the attachment and all the rest of it. So quite a templating system for the actual email message itself, because again, a lot of people said, hey, you know, it's really cool, but I'm having to paste emails in and mess about with it. But you know, I want to be able to alter the body of the email depending on who I'm targeting, which obviously is very, very good sense indeed. So if I come out of the email settings, we also added this email template editor tab to allow you to literally create and edit and save and do everything that you need to do, and save them up for a rainy day. So as you can see, there's a sample Mobile Client Finder template in there, and you've got your save as, save and delete buttons, and you can just, you know, you can go ahead and do exactly like that. So this is a copy of the sample. If I click on save as, what it's going to do is, where is it? It's over here. It's going to give me a little prompt to save the name, so I'm just going to call it as a save as test. And there we go, it's going to save that for me. So you can use full HTML in there. I mean, one question that came up was how can I use existing HTML templates that I've got? Well, there's actually a little source code button in there as well, so you can click on that and you can actually paste original code into there, and it'll render it out, because it's fully HTML friendly. So all those, you know, if you are familiar with CSS styles or that kind of thing, you can go mad in there and really make quite a nice looking template and then reuse them again and again and again. So some quite lumpy bits of functionality added in there to say we sort of cranked that out in the space of 10 days or whatever it was. And really the schedule's just got ever more crazy. I mean, just for those of you that are interested, that the thing is getting better and better. Just let me get my roadmap notes up here just to sort of explain what to expect over the course of the next week or so, really, because we are actively working on making this a ton better, and we'll continue to do so. I think there's a couple of little bugs in there. I mean, one bug that has been reported, and we'll address this sooner rather than later, but that's if a business has gone ahead and got itself multiple Google Plus listings, which shouldn't happen a lot by right, but it has been reported that it's happened. As it stands, the software's not too intelligent on that front. It finds an email, and it finds a website, it creates a report and emails it, and that's what it does. So we're just going to add a little bit of some conditional checking in there just to see, have I already emailed this email address today? Well, let's not send them a ton of reports, because it's not a great way to build rapport with somebody, for sure. So we're going to add that in as a bit of a bug check. There's going to be a minimize to tray option, because I know some people are running it and they just want it out of the way and off their desktop while it's doing its thing. We're going to be, when it saves, a few people have said they'd like to see headers at the top of the report, so when it saves, it's just going to insert a header row in there as well, so you can be sure of what should be in what column, and if you're sharing the data or selling it or doing whatever with it, you can do. Let's have another look. Okay, yeah, and that really leaves sort of three major features that I know loads of people have been after. And I think will really take the software to another level altogether. The first thing we're going to do, just going back to the email side of it, and again, you do need to have some constraints in with this, but we are going to make it feasible to use placeholders within the email and subject fields. For example, I think mostly what we'll allow is the URL and the name of the business as well. So if you want to write emails to people when they're prospecting, saying, hey there, I visited your website, www.somewebsite.com, and blah blah blah, I saw it was mobile friendly and here I am to help, here's a report. You're going to be able to do that sort of in the next week or two. So that's quite a cool new feature, and that'll work in the subject line as well. So it should, the end result there being you're going to get more people opening more emails, so you get more leads. That's the whole point of adding that feature. Two of the sort of really big features that we're going to add in is we're going to have up here, there'll be a little advanced button that you're going to be able to click, and when you do, this simple interface will just kind of switch out, and there's going to be some extra options in there. The first option is that we're going to give you the option to use a bulk keyword file. Instead of just having one search term as we have at the moment, we're going to actually be able to specify a file, a text file, that's just going to be basically a whole list of search terms for it to work through, and it'll just sit there buzzing away through them, because as we are using the Google API, the Google Places API, we are limited to 60 results as a maximum per query. And that's just a Google limit that's imposed. So by having the keyword file, you could effectively load in 100 keywords, and you've got whatever 6,000 potential results there from that one keyword file, and it'll make it easier for if you target in the same areas but for different industries and so on and so forth, or the same, vice versa. If you're targeting one state for a whole load of different industries, you're able to do that with the one keyword file. So I know that'll please quite a few people, and I think the really big one as well, because I know there's people out there that have got big lists, they've been using stuff like Local Lead Miner and some of those other scraping tools that are out there that very good pieces of software, and they're thinking, well, hey, I've got all these web addresses and all these email addresses already. I'd love to be able to use them, and that's a feature that, touch wood, as long as it tests out all right, we should be able to launch that on Friday as planned. Which means you'll be able to specify a a data file basically. If you'll be able to load in a data file of URLs and email addresses, and the software will go through and do its thing with all of those. And again, if it finds them to be non-friendly, it will email them the report. So yeah, I think that'll put a smile on quite a few people's faces. So that's imminent. A few bug fixes and also those extra features. Just before I kind of finish where I'm at, and we move to the discussion sort of side of the webinar. One thing that's been coming up quite a bit is some issues relating to Gmail and Yahoo Mail when using the SMTP settings from those services. Now, I'm working on that. The problem we have is those kind of services aren't specifically built for handling bulk mailing through pieces of software like this. They're for logging in and checking your webmail. And although they offer SMTP settings, they can sometimes be difficult to set up. And the other problem that I've been encountering quite a lot that I think is probably kind of gotchaing quite a lot of people is particularly with Google, but also with Yahoo as well, and those kind of services, that by their very nature they have a lot of security features built in behind the scenes. And if they see pieces of software or things that they're kind of not familiar with logging in and trying to use the service to send email, that it starts setting off alarm bells and it just goes into shutdown and stops it from working effectively. So we're looking at ways that we can kind of counter that. I mean, I know everybody will say, well, you should be, you can get away with sending 200 emails a day with Gmail before you get a Gmail account banned. Well, yes, you can for a short while. Usually they get banned still anyway, in my experience. If you're sending out a lot of very similar emails, you're probably going to get accounts banned pretty quickly as well. All in all, I mean, we'll do some work to make that more compatible and try and deal with those security issues. I mean, one thing you can do is, particularly with your Gmail, let me find the link I pulled up earlier. If I just pull that in, one thing that I found tripping stuff off quite a lot was if you go to your Google and you go to your security and you allow less secure apps, is the term that they give to it. I mean, it's still connecting securely, but that will help a lot of people who are hell-bent on using Gmail to handle that. Again, depending on whether you just have a plain old free Gmail account you're trying to use or a Google Apps proper business account. I personally have proper Google Apps business accounts, and I've managed to plug them in okay, but then again it'll send a few and it starts to hit some security problems because it can see that there's a PDF getting attached kind of quite regularly. So the bottom line is, regardless of any tweaks that I make in the software that kind of tries and makes that work, I will always recommend using an SMTP service that's built for doing that. I mean, one thing that I'm going to look at is perhaps building a simple SMTP server so you can send it directly out from your computer. But again, I mean, I know it'll work in principle, but whether the deliverability of that will probably be compromised because it's being sent out from a local PC rather than a trusted mail server. So, you're always going to hit these kind of little problems unless you get the right tool for the job. Now, personally, I use Turbo SMTP. And I just wanted to kind of show people that because it's very inexpensive and it's the right tool for the job. It's a professional SMTP service that's built for the best deliverability of emails. It's the job, the one for the job. Assemblaster, if anybody's familiar with that as the desktop emailing piece of software, which is very well known. It's a very, very cool piece of software. They've even got an offer rigged up with Servo SMTP. So you can find their website on servosmtp.com. There is a free service, but it's very limited. Although you might get away with it. I personally, if I click on the buy now, I'm going to show you. I've got the $9 one, I think. I mean, I don't notice these payments going out. Yeah, $30,000 a month for $9. I mean, it's literally for nothing. And you'll not have any of these issues with silly security things stopping you from attaching emails and stuff like that. And you'll see in my email settings, I'm just straight in there. You get these settings when you sign up. You just plug them in and the thing starts working. It's as simple as that. One thing I will point out, because I was chatting to somebody earlier on Skype who hit this as a problem, if when you just to walk you through kind of the sign up here. Just going to take a moment to load, obviously, because I'm on this. If I click into buy now, go for the monthly option suits me fine. It does, obviously you need to put an email address in there that you're using. That's all very cool. Oh, it's still start over. Oh, can I check out? There we go. Let me see. Yeah, I just want to show you some of the questions that it asks, because there are a few little gotchas in here. So your email address, you want to try and use that, whichever email address you want replies on would probably be the best one to use in here. It does ask for a website address. You don't have to put that in. The question that it asks here, how do you collect your email addresses? I would, I rent and buy email addresses from a third party. That'll be fine. Have a sign-up web form. It's just, what they don't want is blatant spammers to come on here with, cheap scraping software, just spamming, Viagra things out to people or something like that. And a problem I know somebody ran into, they clicked on other and they said, oh, I'm using mobile, I want to use Mobile Client Finder to, scrape email addresses from the internet. And surprise, surprise, Turbo SMTP, said, well, no, yeah, we don't really want you doing that because it's just going to worry them. I mean, the fact that we are we're finding very, very targeted, very relevant email addresses and sending them, a perfectly legitimate commercial offer with, and with some work done and a free report to them. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing illegal with what we're doing. If if somebody said, please don't send me any more emails, and you kept doing it, well, yes, you would get into trouble. But we're not really black hat spamming or doing anything like that. But equally, if you start stipulating that you're going to use email extraction software in there, you're probably not going to get a Turbo SMTP account. But that would be my honest answer for people who are fiddling around trying to get freebie email systems to work in this. It's like, honestly, for the time that you will spend, and you will get them to work, trying different ports, trying different setups. You'll probably get them to work in the end, but you may find that they don't work very reliably, and you may find that you spend all morning trying to do that, and you could have just spent $9 and been sending emails out and getting new clients. So I just wanted to cover that off, really. I think that's me done, guys. I think that's it for now. I think we'll probably do another webinar walkthrough when we get these other new features launched. I imagine.
We have several questions. The whole thing about them being able to later on to upload, if I heard you right, upload emails that they've already used other programs to find, et cetera, et cetera. That's really huge when you think about it.
Oh yeah, massive.
That is a good one. Well, guys, let me start at the top because while Mike was talking, I saw these questions just sort of flip by. So if I didn't answer anything or didn't acknowledge your question, basically just sitting here waiting for Q&A. I think you pretty well covered the non-English language part because Ran or Ron, I don't know how to pronounce your name, had a question like, is it possible to use non-English searches? For instance, could they use searches in Hebrew or other languages, for instance? And I think you talked about that some.
Yeah, well, that's kind of. I mean, it's as far as the search goes, we've got a direct API call going into Google Places. So it's exactly the same as if you go to Google Maps or any of the Google local type services. If you can type it into that and it will return your results, then it will work in Mobile Client Finder. Okay. So that's kind of the easy way to. I mean, I honestly I don't know any Hebrew, to be honest. I've struggled to test that one. But I assume if you go onto if you type a Hebrew search into Google Maps and it returns any results, then it will work in the software. So the answer is broadly yes. I imagine I guess there will be certain stuff that don't get results, but
right. So as best you can tell, the answer is yes, but with the caveat of We don't know how to test that. Yeah, several people want to know how to get the updated version.
Okay, just restart your software. If you've got, it should just update, plain and simple.
Okay.
It should prompt you when you first start it.
So it's going to prompt you for an update. So it auto updates. Okay. So I've had several questions about that. Frank says, I couldn't get the emailer to work. I set the settings for my Gmail account, but never got the test email. Yeah. I guess this is given that Frank has the updated version, you know.
It could be a whole load of stuff that, I mean, there's so many variables and settings to do with how you might have your Google configured. I mean, I could sit here all night trying to debug why it don't work on a particular one. And again, I'd just turn around and say, well, you know, if you really haven't, if it's not just working nice and simple, you know, use something that will, like TurboSMTP, because it's just, I mean.
So really, I mean,
a minute.
You know, people want to use the Google or the Yahoo or whatever. But if they want to use this on a regular basis, they really should step up to something like the Turbo, right?
Yeah. I mean, there are other SMTP services out there. I've used a few over the years. I've just, for $9 a month, 30,000 emails sounds like good value to me. That's
really good value. Yeah, excellent. Yeah. So you know, if y'all want to go big with this, if you want to make this an ongoing, I mean, you kind of test it with Gmail and see if it works for you. But if you want to make it an ongoing part of your business building strategy, the investment would be $9 a month, which is not much of an investment.
Yeah, I mean, I think TurboSMTP do a freebie level as well.
Yeah.
You don't need, you necessarily have to spend. I mean, obviously, if you're sending a lot of emails, then you're going to need to.
Yeah. But, now, Efren, you answered Efren. Excuse me, go ahead.
If the free version gives you 6,000 up to 200 a day.
Okay. So somebody could test Turbo at 200 a day and just see if it's going to work, and then, you know, go ahead and pay $9 for the larger account. Efren has a question, which you already answered. Why does it just stop at 60 prospects? Because that's what the Google API does. And I think you were describing kind of a workaround with the whole keyword thing, to where for a particular thing they could end up with more than 60, but we're not the ones limiting the 60. That's Google. Kathy's got a very good question. Can we use an unsubscribe link in the emails?
Yeah, you could just type, you could just write it in there if you wanted to.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just want to, you know, reply to this email with unsubscribe or something.
Sure, you could do it that simply, just like, you know, if you don't want to continue getting emails, just reply with the word unsubscribe, and you'll do it like that. Patrick, I think we answered your questions about getting the latest version.
If people have got versions, if people aren't getting automatic updates, they need to create a support ticket, and we'll have to look into it because it should.
Now, let's just get real clear on that, because
I want to point out that we tend to roll the basic. For those people that just bought the basic version, the updates do tend to roll out slightly slower, just simply because, you know, the pro clients have paid a little bit more, and we have to recompile it for each thing. That's, you know, so that may be the case as well if people are on pro and basic, and are a version or two behind.
So maybe that the basic just is lagging behind a little bit. So in theory, for the software to auto-update itself, the icon sitting there on your desktop, you click on it just like you're going to start any program, and at that point it should auto-update.
Yeah, it should pop up a little prompt and just say, there's a new version available, do you want to download and install it?
Well, I've actually done that myself. So again, if it's not doing that for you, put in a support ticket, and we'll make sure that the VAs have a link to the newest version that they can just send you. Narissa says the PDFs for each business that is generated from the software cannot be opened. I have Adobe Reader, so that's not the issue. Adobe says there's an error opening the document. The file is damaged and cannot be repaired.
Okay. I mean, there was one or two issues that we wrote. Those early updates straight after launch pretty much fixed all of that.
Yeah, Narissa, my guess is, because we did have a few tickets about that, but those were with earlier versions, my guess is you've got an earlier version running, so you need to update that. Isa says, having a problem receiving the test emails. System says emails successfully sent, however, I never get them. Tried 2 different SMTPs, and you want to address what ISA might do about that? I mean, again, there are a ton of variables, ISA, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say as a kind of rule of thumb, and now I realise that there's actually a free Turbo SMTP account you can have. I think, I'll probably be directing support to, in the first instance, tell people to get themselves a free account and just plug those details in. And if they're still not receiving the test email, then there may or may not be another issue surrounding that's stopping it. But I would guess the most likely answer would be, they've got a security setting that's not quite right on Gmail, or they're using the wrong port number, or Gmail's just locking them down because it feels like it, because that's what it does. It's those kind of, it's a fiddly thing, which is again why I'm saying, let's keep it simple, just get a fit-for-purpose service and use that rather than trying to take something that was never really built to do that and plug it in anywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense. So in other words, Isa, try the free version of Turbo. Well, I think let's start there. If you updated software, okay, and let's say it's still doing that, then I would try the free version of Turbo and let's see what happens there. Patrick and V, I think I just answered, or we just answered your questions recently. So Frank says, can you use and I don't really understand this, can you use a Gmail account with the SendBlaster software?
I don't know. I've never tried to be completely honest. I don't think I've used my copy of SendBlaster in 6 months anyway, so I don't know, download its trial and have a go.
Yeah. So Patrick, I think we covered you on getting the last version. Is there a CSV file of the emails, or because Frank says, how do you get the CSV file of the emails?
Every time it finishes a run, it should drop a CSV in the same folder as the PDFs.
Okay. So Frank, that's the answer to that. Lyle says, cool feature, enable, disable email. If we have auto email disabled, can we physically print out the PDFs automatically? This is a really good question from a sales point of view. In other words, could you just physically print out the PDFs, like if you just did that for your local area and you just wanted to meet somebody in person?
Yeah, I mean, what a tool to walk into somewhere with and ask, can I speak to the business owner? I've got an important report here to deliver.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like straight past the gatekeeper. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, it's whether it emails them or not, it saves all the reports that it can into whichever folder you specify and you run it.
So you would just go through there, open them up, print them out on your color printer, and bind them nicely, and then go about your merry way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I was hell-bent on using Gmail, I would do it manually rather than try and do it programmatically, because it's just, again,
Yeah.
for all of the above reasons. But if I was going to do that, I would be quite tempted to be sending a fairly detailed person. If I really wanted this person to be my client, I would say, I'd send that from a Gmail account, but I'd be attaching it manually and typing them a nice personal email relating to their, I was in your restaurant the other week, I enjoyed the steak, just out of interest, I checked out your website and I noticed that it wasn't mobile friendly. Here's a report, seems I really enjoyed the meal, and if you want to talk about it, then I'll come down and see you. Perhaps I can swap a mobile website for a whole year's worth of steak.
I like that idea. I hope y'all took notes on that, because if you want to do physical in-person walking into businesses, that actually works remarkably well. I know that's not part of the whole offline marketing, mash a button, make money, pretend ethos, but when it comes down to selling stuff in person, it's so much easier for somebody to give you $500, $600, $700, $800 if they looked you in the eye and shook your hand than otherwise. And not everybody, but most of y'all live within distance of enough businesses to keep you going for a very, very long time. So I personally like that idea a lot. Gene says, my website URL and email address are wrapping in the sidebar and it doesn't look good. Would it be possible to change the font size so all fits on one line each?
Yeah, just again as a little bit of a hack, if you do want to do that and you can find your way around HTML, then the font tag will work in there as well.
Okay, so you could just do the font tag and just shrink the font. Okay.
So if I go into, if I kind of demonstrate, if I go into report preferences, you'll see that the default, and I purposefully allowed that to happen so people have got a little reference if they wanted to. But for example, if you wanted to, you could use that bit of HTML there, and you could use it wrapped around the whole website thing. It worked. You probably won't see that too well in the preview side of it, but if you test the actual tag on the course, you would, that would work. So you could drop that down to size 1 and it would work and make it smaller that way. So that's perhaps something to try.
So Gene,
you'd be able to, you could put it in the bottom footer there and put something else up there.
That's a good idea too. So one of those solutions should do it for you. Maury wants to know, and I think we touched on the answer to this. Did you touch on duplicate emails? And I think Maury's talking about the duplicate places listed.
Actually, so I've got to thank him publicly for that. But yeah, it appears that in some circumstances, certain businesses have managed to secure multiple Google Places listings, which is quite unusual with the same website on those set of results. But Maury managed to find some, and the end result being they got like 2 or 3 reports sent out. So yeah, that's a bug fix. That will be on this week's release, one way or another. We'll roll that out this week, and it'll just do a check. If it's already emailed it, then it'll only do it once. Save upsetting people.
So Manfred has a question that I think we've answered. Manfred, when it sends emails, it puts it all in a CSV file and puts it in the same place that the reports are in. So you should be able to see that. Patrick, Patrick, you might want to include that's a response to something previously, so you might want to give us a little heads up on what that's about specifically so we can help you out with that. Lyle says version 1.32. Is that the latest version?
Yes.
Okay, there you go, Lyle. Daryl just left, but Daryl was asking if we'll be opening this for new people to buy, and yes, we are opening this again. Narissa says the software is not automatically updating. Mike, let's do this. Let's make sure after the webinar that you and I connect and make sure that I know where the updated version is, and I'll make sure that's in the members area, but I'll also give a separate link just in case to the VAs, and that way there will be two places where people can download the newest version without, in case it's not auto-updating. Now let's say somebody has a version and it's not auto-updating, just to get real clear on what these guys need to do. Should they uninstall their old version first and then download the new one? What happens with the licensing, et cetera, et cetera?
Fine, it'll just install over the top of it, so they don't need to worry about anything like
Okay.
that. The other thing that might happen if they go through a reinstall is part of the installation process is that the software needs to be able to run as an with administrative permissions. So it runs a little batch command as it installs that just sets that whole thing up to save you having to do it yourselves. If you're reinstalling it, it may still try and run that batch command. So what you might find is you get a little window pop up with the kind of black background and like DOS type thing going on from back in the day, and just prompting whether you want or not you want to run it. You can either close that or click yes, or I mean it really doesn't matter. Just get rid of it. It won't happen for everybody, but it might happen for some people. So I'll just throw that out there before you get all flummoxed by this little.
So for those of you that are old enough to remember what this looked like before Windows, you'll get one of those. I'm not saying I'm that old, but I'm just saying. So Narissa, you heard the answer to that. Mike will get with me. We'll make sure it's in the members area. We'll make sure the VAs have access to another downloadable URL where you can download that. And you just heard how to install it. Manfred says, I would like to actually see an actual email and report that is being sent. Is this possible?
Yeah, I mean,
I think you got the test thing there, right?
Yeah. If assuming you've got an SMTP service that works, you should get that in. I mean, here's one I was just playing around before we started on the webinar, and that was it. It was send the sample template out. It attached to the email for me. There it is. It just creates a little temporary one. That's why it gives it that random number, and it sends it out when so you can see what it would look like in an email that you want, really.
Cool.
You'll find that in the email settings box, so just down there.
Very cool. Patrick, I think we covered the fact that yours is not auto-updating. Can the report be replaced with some? We got somebody that wants to sell something besides mobile websites. Can like SEO or design or video marketing or whatever, can they just redo the whole report?
No.
Okay.
Is the short answer to that.
The short answer. It's a very specific.
My mind that I used to have a tool that I wrote many years back when I was selling SEO, and it was a brilliant way of doing it because they're used to getting all the sort of spam emails in from India and wherever, saying we'll do SEO, and I used to send them a real nice report that showed them that they're SEO. So yeah, it's certainly crossed my mind. I mean, we've got a lot of work on with what we're doing with this and rolling this out publicly. But yeah, that is potentially something we might look at as we go down the line for those different services.
And just so y'all know, I mean, as we create new stuff, we also raise the price. So and if you already bought it, you're getting the version with more features for the original price. We're not charging you for the update. The price has already gone up, by the way. Lyle's got a good point. A lot of business owners are, just regular sticks and bricks business owners. Your hair salon owner, your car sales lot. These people are not hip to Gmail and Yahoo email addresses. That still might look a little unprofessional to them. So you might want to consider having your own domain with your own email. Lee at, internetmaverick.com. I mean, that wouldn't be a great domain name for this. That's just one of my domains. But Lyle at mobile website whatever.com, something like that. So that's a good point, Lyle. That's an excellent marketing point. Kathy, you're welcome. Ben says the new version is still not showing email addresses in the spreadsheet report. Is it supposed to be in this version or later version?
No, it's supposed to be. If he's got version 1.32, it should be. I mean, bear in mind that it doesn't get everyone.
It shows the ones that are there, right? Basically.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's an algorithm that does a couple of things, and something I mentioned. I was talking about the new features, but we improved that quite considerably. I think that was update 1.24. We effectively we built some spidering into it so that when it visits the website to look for an email address, try and find the contact page. You can find the contact page, and then go and try and subject from there, which gives it a much higher success rate. I mean, just talking to people, and certainly from my use of the software, it seems to be somewhere around about 20 to 25% of the non-friendly site will return an email address.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, that's kind of probably where what to expect from it, pretty much.
Right. Okay. Brian says, my email settings window many times closes down after opening, just shrinks down to like 20 pixels wide. Is that just Brian, or is that something?
That's the first time I've come across that bug. Anyway.
Brian, it's just you. You're unique. Sorry. I don't know.
I mean, please, I'd be interested to know what version of .NET you were running and what operating system.
Yeah, I bet that's what that's all about.
Yeah, it will be. It'll definitely be what it's all about, but I'd still be interested to know about that.
V says that V still has the PDF error with 1.32.
Okay, well, if you could create a ticket and mark in the ticket that Mike said on the webinar to escalate it to him, I'll look into that personally, because I've not been able to break them with some extensive testing, and quite a few other people have been trying to break them as well. So
yeah, sometimes VIA just takes a certain environment, just a certain number of variables that we can't necessarily replicate. Unfortunately, that happens to be it. So yeah. ISA, we're coming out with something like that. It's at I'm the copywriter of the bunch, and that's very high at the top of my list of stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. Let me see if I can rephrase this. Basically, ISA, you want some sample emails? Yeah, we're coming out with that. So if you will just hang loose for another couple of days, something on that order, that we will have that available. Maury's got a great thing. This is probably an answer to some of this stuff. Make sure the outgoing port number is correct, and I think he's talking about the email thing. Mark, you may not have heard the answer to this, but I'm going to read it out just because, you know, other people may not have heard it too. Can I upload my own list of domains and email addresses and have it generate a report and send an email? Mike, we kind of talked about that, I believe, right?
Yeah, that's one of the big ones that's on the roadmap, hopefully for this week.
Yeah, so that's coming. We realize that is a cool feature.
It also takes quite a bit of development.
Yeah, I mean that.
Right. Significantly for people on the public launch, but hey.
Right, yeah. Gene says, and Mike, you kind of addressed the UK versus American stuff at the beginning. But Gene's talking about the formatting of the date. Would it be possible to add this something for like U.S. market?
Yeah, that's done.
Apparently that's done, Gene.
Yeah, report preferences, you've got language as your first setting now. of which is English UK and English United States. The United States flavour uses Z's where it's supposed to and uses the standard American date format as well. Whereas the UK one.
And I noticed that you called that letter a Z.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm
Very
trying,
good.
I'm trying to.
We're switching. You're getting over into American English, and I'm moving over into the Queen's English or something kind of like that. I'm gonna start putting stuff on my schedule.
You should do that. Picking a niche.
Or picking a niche. Well, I'm already totally confused about how to pronounce that for the last couple of years. So, Patrick, I think we talked about that. We had 3 people buy BASIC, and I think you just need to go there and grab the updated version of BASIC when it's there. We got a whole. We have many times of people that bought Pro. So when the BASIC's there, just grab that and do what we said about updating it, and then you'll be fine. William, let me pop this into you. Well, kind of, sort of. Hang on. And this is a Bitly link. We're going to put this back on the market. Normally our stuff, because we are creating, as you can see, we are creating a ton of new features, adding them to this. And as we do that, then, you know, by rights, the price should go up. But if you buy it now or if you bought it before, then we're not going to charge you for the extra features. But William, I'm going to go ahead and put in a link to, this is a Bitly link. Should go to the sales page, which is live, and it'll be live. I'll probably put in another counter on there, William. Generally, we do this for 72 hours. So probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Probably cut it off Friday night sometime. But look, we're not here to make people adhere to totally ridiculous schedules. So if I cut it off Friday night or Saturday morning and you hit me up on Saturday afternoon, we're not going to be crazy about it, you know. Whatever that name is that you've got there. Can the report be replaced? Yeah, I think we talked about that. No, it can't. Lyle says, can we pull by zip code?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Short answer, Lyle, should be able to.
Should be able to.
Raymond says, when I send emails, the folder has PDF but no data in the files.
Very strange. Are you sure is it actually, you know, you're getting the final alert to say, you know, process complete? Is it actually finishing what it's doing?
I mean, it takes a while, Raymond. It doesn't do this instantaneously.
No, it takes quite a long time to run.
Because it's got a ton of stuff to do. So, Raymond, you want to make sure that it tells you that it's done, and then look.
And also, I do actually have this as a bug, although it's not, technically speaking, a bug as such. But if you bought the process, it doesn't save the PDF. I'm going to alter that so that it does regardless. You know, so if you get bored halfway through, or you know, you feel like it's done enough, you'll be able to abort and it's saved. But currently, if you hit abort, it just stops.
D. Paramore, we are recording this as we speak, and I'll just put this up on that same sales page, and just email I'll put this update webinar toward the bottom, or at the bottom, or somewhere near the bottom, and I'll just re-email everybody with all this information. Mark, I think we Kathy, whatever. She's alluding to the fact that I used to program computers on, you know, C prompts. Making me feel old again, Kathy. Thank you. Mark, I think we got that one. I used to work for IBM. We had these, I thought they were really cutting edge. We had these floppy disks that were about the size of an old long-playing record. I mean, they were huge. They were like the size of a small magazine. So that's how old it is. ICE is having trouble with Turbo SMTP, so You know, I don't, I saw, again, Mike said, put in a ticket and tell the VAs that you were on this webinar, you spoke with him, and to bump it up to him, and he'll get it. Raymond, I think we got that. Ben is now happy. Ben's gone back and looked at the report and seen that it did get some emails. It doesn't get them all. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, but it did, so Ben is now happy. Cool beans. And
yeah, I think those headers will probably make that a little bit easier to see as well when I have that little feature in there.
Ben says, if email address cannot be found, can program software scrape the contact page URL? No, there's Ben wants to have the URL of the contact page. It's an idea. We'll put that. Mike, I think we have a ton of possible ideas in the hopper. I mean, obviously we can't get to them all, but it's really kind of according to whether it makes sense for more than a few people, you know, et cetera, time, money, yada yada. But we'll put that on the list of possibilities. Lyle wants to know, Mike, if you know a good email scraper tool.
Well, Local Lead Miner is very good.
Yeah.
There were a few.
They tend to come out every now and then.
Yeah, I mean the thing with email scraping as like kind of a mainstream way of collecting email addresses is, one, you do have to be careful with what you're sending them, because you know you shouldn't be. You can't just harvest everybody's email address and start advertising a load to them. You're going to get complaints and get told off. But that's not to say you can't. It's not a viable way of marketing. You just need to be intelligent in your approach with it. Well, it's an advanced thing to be doing to get good results from it, i.e. where I'm doing it. Then you know, you need to know where on proxies properly and all that kind
of stuff. Lynn, we addressed that. Brian, that's just a landing page for people who want to go even bigger with this and drive traffic to that in other ways. So that's basically what that's about. Kathy's trying to make me feel good about being so old. Let me read this, Gene. Gene, I think we answered that about the date. And I think we're good to go. I'm at the end of all the questions. Anybody have any last minute questions? This is being recorded. Generally takes, Mike, can you show Gene the UK, US thing on the
tools, report preferences. Up at the top you've got language, English UK, English United States.
There you go. So if you just toggle between those two, it's going to change the date format.
Yeah, I mean you can actually see on the little preview there the spelling of optimization is alters out as well, just to kind of feedback that that's happening.
So Monica, I just put a link in there for you, and anybody on here who hasn't bought this yet, I'm just sending a link in general to the entire audience through the chat. And, you know, again, oh, you bet, Monica. Again, it's to be available for approximately 72 hours. And, you know, having said that, we're not here to adhere to ridiculous, you know, details. So 72 hours plus 1 minute is probably cool, too. And if you have a major problem, just hit us up. Excellent. So thank you all so much. Got lots of cool stuff coming out, and appreciate you. This recording generally, with everything else, takes about a day to get back up online, but I will put it, you bet, Jenny, I will put it, well, Richard Isley, there's a history behind that, but that's one of my other names. But we'll have this back up on that same sales page, the one where the first webinar is, probably in about a day. and I'll just re-email that to everybody. Thank you all so much, and hope you have a great day. Thank you for being on the webinar with us. Mike, thank you so much. It's very cool stuff.
Always a pleasure. See you later.
See y'all later.